All right, hello Aksu. Hello the rest of the stream that's here. Um, I was supposed to put out a video today that was actually Jonas and Analyze Chris talking through NANPC and their process, and I thought that video is great. I'm going to try and get it out tomorrow. I literally just got distracted all day. I don't really have a better excuse than that. Um, but uh, the only edit I think I even have to do is just cutting out me coughing for 30 seconds straight. But hey, thanks for swinging by, Lazy. But yeah, we're gonna do a full 45-ish minute recap of NANPC Boston. So the event I went to last weekend. But I figure I can talk. We didn't talk that much about my experience at the event. So I figure I can do that a little bit. And we can talk about it for a good reason. If we go and look at Always Be Running, and we go to the results, I did okay, but not great. So if we go, and actually I went to grab my deck list because I don't have it I didn't actually make it, so one sec. Oh. Oh my goodness. It's literally on the desk in front of me. What am I doing? Um, hey, Eric. So let me just quickly. So I came in like 13th or something. Yeah, 13th. And if we can see points, I'm basically the lowest of the 15th. Pretty low strength of schedule. Opponents are winning on average about half their games, and I felt like I had a pretty soft schedule overall in the day. Um, if we actually go to Aesop's tables, and we actually go to NANBC Boston, you can see I am at 1-3, and my Ari went 4-0. And yet I don't I think the thing I needed to do was bring a different corp. I felt like my match on stream, I did make a misplay. I made a pretty significant one. But the game was also over when I made the misplay. Like I was already had been deep dived for basically 6 points. And so yeah, I should have left the envelopment on R&D and then just extracted and short up some more, but that game was over. It was just completely over at that point. I had a Oaktown in hand, I think, as well still. Maybe even a 2-1 as well, the hostile takeover. So just was not I felt like that, even though I made a mistake there, the game was not going to be won or lost because of that mistake. Ari went undefeated, and yet this deck felt significantly worse. So I'm going to quickly rebuild this deck, talk about what I would change about it. So let's go. I'm going to quickly build this out. Urban, urban, urban. Oh, maybe I already did this. Environmental, environmental. I was playing a DJ. So we'll just fix this. A bones. Okay. Trick shot, trick shot, trick shot. Diesel, diesel, diesel. Dirty laundry, dirty laundry, dirty laundry. Gambles. A deep dive. And that's it. I feel like the 2 Phyceras were not there the day of, but they seem to be in the list right now. Parisha. 1, 2, 3 Coalescence. 1, 2, 3 Cubons. Pichasau. 2 Muses. Okay, so this is... I did start making some changes, right? 2 Muses, a Conduit, a Cleaver, a Buzzsaw, 1 Hush, a Turbine, an Ika, A gachapon, no clot. I think I must have been on... Where's my... Did I actually just play a straight up illegal list, or did I not have the Vicerum? I feel like I only had one Vicerum. Yeah, no clot was an interesting choice. It was definitely wrong. Okay. Did I actually just bring in the legal list, and this is a great way for me to find out? That would be very funny. It does look like that's what I did. Yeah, I think that's actually just what I did. Well, even better that I didn't make the cut. That's very, very funny. I could have sworn I counted that very carefully. That's very funny. I don't think I installed... I don't think I was on 2 Vicerums. I think this was my list, but that's not right. That's very weird. That's fucking bizarre. Okay. Well, let's make this list legal for publication, and this is the easiest way to make it legal for publication. Yeah, anyway. All that aside, like, I actually don't even know. I think I installed DJ once, and then it didn't do anything. This list felt fine. Basically, the changes I would make would be... I was like, okay, I actually... Self-modifying code is better than Muse here. Though I actually think the correct list looks... If you want to go this sort of engine-y route, I think the list looks something like this. You cut the gotcha. Actually, no, you cut the DJ and you play a gotcha. So, like, this is probably what the list should look like, roughly. Though, I'm honestly... Like, Cleaver is a card I feel kind of weird about. But basically what I discovered in the day, like... Hey, playing Trick Shot, Dirty Laundry, and Sure Gamble just makes your games way smoother. Yeah, no Aesops. You could play it, but like you're already at too many cards, and it's not that... Like, Aesops is kind of that nice. Yeah, Manverupt. I'll talk about that in a second. There is a list. Basically, the thing I discovered... And this is not a shocker. I do think maybe 3 Sure Gambles is one too many. But putting regular Econ in your deck just makes it play way smoother. And while you hit your ceiling where sometimes you want to draw a tool and you don't draw a tool, Dirty Laundry is a very good tool. Sure Gamble's an okay tool. And then SMC just synergizes a little bit better with Trick Shot with the Buzzsaw Cleaver engine. I think if you go off of Cleaver... and just play Propeller and actually get an extra gachapon that way, I think you could think about going back to 2x Muses and 1x. If I was to run this back tomorrow, I would probably play a list that looks something like this. I might go down to 2 Cubons here. Just to like kind of keep my counts kind of in a reasonable amount. You could actually probably get away with 2 Coalescences and 3 Cubons. I don't know exactly in this list. Something like this. I do think Coalescence actually pulls its weight quite well. Oh, I must have just made an illegal change when prepping, because this is what I have written down. What was the difference between this and what I actually was just leafing through? Wait, now I'm very confused. Wait, this looks... Okay, can I just not count? No, you know what? I'm not going to worry about this. Oh, pinhole. Okay, well, conveniently, there's no pinhole in this deck list, so that's the difference. I didn't actually play a pinhole. And honestly, I don't know that it's weird. I don't know that you need a pinhole threading in this setup right now. So yeah, this is just like the. It didn't come close to cost. It almost cost me a game, but I like kind of luck sacked. Um, Basically, my thinking right now, like with this list, you could maybe go back to two muses and one SMC, because now your propeller is positioned a little bit better with like 5 recursion cards on the deck, but SMC does work better with trick shot than Muse does in most cases. With Ika, it's maybe a little bit less the case, and Physarum is obviously quite nice. And it's kind of why I'm like, okay, you can probably go pretty greedy because you want to use Buzzsaw to break small stuff, and then Physarum to break big things. This list went undefeated. It didn't actually feel like it even had that much competition. I think my matchups were... but like part of that was I was usually losing runner, or losing corpse side, so I was submarining into easier runner games. So like round 1, I lost to Chris as analyzed Chris as Ob. Round 2, I then go and beat, I think, oh goodness, I beat Sunny on a Nuvem deck it's one of those like asset Nuvem decks that I didn't really I still don't really get why you're playing Nuvem. Then round 3, I lose again to I want to say I beat Nick in a game that like I was very in control, let my foot off the gas a little bit too much, and then just luck sack to deep dive to win. And then lost to D, I think, as outfit. Nope. Oh, this is when I lost to Alex on stream. And I actually think Alex's host deck is like potentially a much stronger deck than the one I'm running. So we'll talk about that a little bit. Then I win a comfortable game as Corp, or did I? Yeah, I have a my game against Eli was interesting. It was a kind of grinder asset op list. I made some like major misplays, but like trick shot and dirty laundry meant I had the money to keep up with all of his assets, and so I was able to just kind of lock her out of the game and take it all, like just control the board until I could stole 3 points and then found a way to deep dive for 2 more agendas. Or maybe that was a game where I conduit locked. I forget which. It was one of it might have been actually a conduit lock game. Then round 6, I lose to D, and I'm effectively out of the event on op. My loss to Chris, I felt like was a bit of a bad beat. My loss to D was a very well-earned win by D, and my deck drawing absolutely nothing. I then get a win against Izzy because Izzy is playing Jachinho Sable, and I just put 5 ice on R&D and HQ between the two of them, and so it just shuts down that runner kind of completely. Then round 8, I'm like, oh, I kind of might get in it, and I kind of coast to a fairly... I like have a couple tense turns, but like Physarum Entangler just does a lot there. And kind of takes over. So like I think this Ari shell is very, very strong. You can tweak so many of these slots to taste. Like I don't, I'm never gonna play test run in this, but as Ballroom, the deck is strong enough that you can play test runs and get value out of them. If you want the top 8, apologies for the total link gore. This is the top 8 from the NANPC top cut. I want to shout out Arzon's Ari. This list is actually, I think, like it's very well constructed. I think it's very, very narrow, but it is doing what it like is very intentional about what it's doing. And it's one maybe we'll play on stream, though I'm not sure exactly if and how much we'll play games today. But this list I think is quite good. This Asmari Fast Advance list, I think it has really well designed stuff and some stuff I'm a little bit less sold on. I don't know if I'm actually sold on the core gameplay pattern, which is just kind of Fast Advance out of Centrals only. I actually feel like it's going to have a very rough matchup into a lot of Shaper decks. It just is a decent matchup into Hoshikos that run no win conditions, which is why we actually saw it get beat up by analyze Chris's deck, which fucking this legwork was like this legwork I think was worth literal Swiss points to Chris. I think this legwork accounted for 3 of his wins in Swiss, and maybe 1 in the cut. Like, legwork was just so impactful, and I wonder if that's an interesting shift in like the way that corps are going. They're trying to build around. They're playing around twinning, and so actually, when you can burst multi, that can have some kind of ability relative to, or like leverage relative to something that's a little bit slower, like the twinning. But yeah, this RA list is really cool. 21 events with anacams that also made it pretty resilient to some. There was like a good level of punitive floating around the middle tables. One punitive deck did make it to the top 5. Unfortunately, didn't get to make much damage further. This list is on Diesel's and Dr. Nuka's, and I think, to me, like, this is the thing I'm sort of expecting. You need some extra draw. I think Dr. Nuka is like an okay draw. I'm starting to find that Dr. Nuka, like, I don't know. I think the way that Shaper works, I'm not as sold on Dr. Nuka. I almost wonder if this deck could actually be a Joyride deck. It gets into R&D so easily. But I don't know. Now we see NK Nike Ride. Did play Ob and make the top cut. Let's quickly go and look. 3-1 on Ob, 1-3 on Ob, 2-2 on Ob, 2-2 on Ob, 1-3 on Ob. So, like, from my perspective, Ob was not the deck to bring. And, like, I think there's, like, a couple of things kind of... I think basically the way that runners have switched how they have changed how they construct their deck, and maybe some stuff like the amount of recursion in every runner deck now has just made Ob sort of not a particularly good deck. And so, like, I don't think I'm actually playing any more major events this year. I may be playing NANPC Philly. I'm probably not going to be playing Ob there. I think there's just... the deck felt like it was too dependent on good draws and less resilient than stuff like... oh, yeah, and Cascadia. I need to go and look at flights for that, too. So I'm probably going to be playing, barring, obviously meta changes will cause things to shift. But, like, if I was to go back to NANPC Boston, I would play Sports Metal or PD. I would play one of those two. I wouldn't even think that hard about it. I think what I just found is, like, Op used to be very, very consistent, and I just found myself consistently getting blown. Like, if I couldn't win in the first 3 turns, I was just dead. And I just, that's a tough place to be. Like, it feels like Op should be stronger than it is, but I think it's just not that well positioned right now. Like, this is a pretty good... like, I would say this list is probably a little bit better than what I brought. Feels like it's maybe like 5% better. It's just, like, I was doing a little bit too much. I was playing 2 Manic Arms. I think this 2 Seamless Launches do significantly more. Magnet Thimble Rig, I think, are both pretty decent. Like, I like this Code Gate spread a bit. I was on 3 Stavkas. I do like the half run a little bit. And that's sort of where you have to decide what your influence is. I don't love this agenda suite. I actually don't feel like SDS is that good. But yeah, the ice just feels really bad. Like, every single runner deck being able to get Cleaver Turbine down by turn 6 at the latest just blanks all of your sandstones. And so it just feels really bad. And, like, yeah, your ice just goes offline so fast. Hey, Aku. It's been quite a while. If you're the Aku, I'm assuming you are. So, huge props to Nike Ride for doing this. I don't think they won any games in the cut with Op, but we'll have to check quickly. Yeah, they just got knocked out by Eric very quickly. Wait. Oh, did Eric lose round 1? No. Erica. No? What? How did that happen? Oh, Eric lost to Santa in the first round. Okay. Yeah. Hey, Eric. Other Eric. Oh, I'm glad you had a great time watching the stream, Aku. All shout outs go to Eric Hayden and Kato. I was only involved in the stream as much as I set up a Discord call. That was about the extent of my involvement in that stream, and the like one round I did comms for very poorly. This is to Kobe Ken. It's fine. I wouldn't play it. I don't think it like. Eric wants me to talk about why Zaya is cracked, and I think Zaya is just going to do more than Ken most of the time. Like 20 events, yes, literally all but 3 of these trigger Ken, but I don't think it's that impactful at the moment. But we'll see. Santa, we got to talk about this Thule deck. I think, like, genuinely, so Muntel Bost brought this deck, and I think it was probably the better Corp deck. I don't know. I think I'm going to get some pushback from Eric on that, and probably from the other Snare Bears. I think this deck is more fragile to tech ever so slightly. But I think this was like in a unteched field. This is the deck that is more unfair and generates a higher disparity. I think there's some argument to say, like, hey, Sports just wins on turn 6, turn 8, and, like, that's very valuable in the cut. But, like, on the day, this Thule deck felt like it was basically unbeatable, and, this deck dies to No Free Lunch, and, like, I don't think Sports Metal dies to Clot. I think it does have structural weaknesses, but to some extent, those structural weaknesses will require significant deck building and style changes. Like, to some extent, like, oh, runners need to find room for Dirty Laundry, which, like, sounds like oh, obviously every runner's going to find room for Dirty Laundry. But like, that is a structural change. Like, runners have cut Dirty Laundry for a reason, and so now they have to put that back in to deal with Sports Metal and things. And, like, honestly, this deck probably helps. Akko, I'm going to come back to your question in a second. So for those of you who didn't watch the stream, the idea is, at some point, this Thule deck will score a false lead. It is very, very difficult to stop them from ever scoring a false lead, because they can put a lot of cards out on the table, which is one way they score a false lead. Another way they can score a false lead is with an MCA austerity policy. And then they also will just have things like Riot Suppression, Oppo Research, or play a Riot Suppression, which I will not mind. If you don't know what that card is, hold on, I have to pull up my thing. I should do this. I should make this part of my ritual, or even like figure out a way I can like automate all of this. But let me go, and this should take me just a second. What do we call Riot Suppression? Okay, so if we pull up Riot Suppression and move it not over here, this was a reader for me. Which is a thing that doesn't happen too often, but it is a Katara card. So 2 credits, play only if the runner has trashed at least 1 Corp card during their last turn. The runner has 3 fewer clicks to spend unless they suffer a core damage, and then remove it from the game instead of trashing it. So this, like, if you play Riot Suppression and the runner loses 3 clicks, you can then install a false lead, and then you can Oppo Research them. And they're in a lot of trouble, because if they go and hit the Oppo, well, you can probably kill them with End of the Line. Where are we? End of the Line. And you also have cards like Hypoxia as well to like do core damage whenever they end up tagged. So it just puts the runner in a bunch of very, very awkward forks. We did see in the finals that Eric beat the deck, but like I think, that is Eric had to get in the situation where the Gaslights and the End of the Line was below the first 7 points that Eric could touch. And that happened in the finals. I think that happens a appreciable percentage of the time. I don't think Eric took like a 1% line and got lucky. I think he probably took like a 40-ish% line. He also mulliganed, or like didn't drew the perfect opening hand. I would argue he misplayed it very slightly, but that's not the end of the world. He didn't get punished for it. He after the game he's like, yeah, my opening hand was Bones, Wake Implant, like Sure Gamble, and some other stuff, and I'm like, he installed Bones and then took a core damage on the Hendrik, missing the Wake, and then took another core damage, missing the Wake a second time. Um, but that's extremely minor, and Eric played the rest of the game pretty much perfectly, so that's great. Um, so yeah, I think like this list presents a ton of really challenging things. Having two different ice in the list is quite good. In that game, if you can spot which ice the corp draws, it takes a ton of the teeth out of it, I think. If you don't know which ice they've drawn, it's actually terrifying because they're both bad for you, but in very different ways. Like Gatekeeper is just tempo that you're giving up. The Jagarundi is like a potential kill condition, and it's a very interesting and challenging fork. I think Santa's Hoshiko deck, like everyone was bringing their own version of Hoshiko. I think this like Boomerang and Finality, this is like I would call this almost like a conservative Hoshiko list, which is a little bit weird. This is more like Sokka's Worlds list, where it just says, yeah, the most important thing is not getting gear checked and finalitying. And like I think Santa got, if I remember, resolved the finality against Eric and it just got like whiffed, and like that happens, but it's a little bit unlikely against the sports medal. So things go as it goes. But yeah, like to some extent, like the core Anarch package, which to me is something like the Price, Strike Fund, Steelskin Scarring, like these cards to me, actually no, these cards feel like there's it's funny that like I'm not putting Paladin, Mystic, or the Twinning in the villain pile here, but these set of 6 cards feel like they are too synergistic compared to every other corp, like what the corp is able to handle and what most other runner factions are able to keep up. Yeah, this 2x price, 2x moshing feels a little suspicious, um, but yeah. So Aku, you were asking about weird judge calls. I think on stream I fumble a judge call. Like this was a casual level event, so when someone accidentally revealed the top card of their deck rather than accidentally drew it or like went to do a mandatory draw, I was like, oh yeah, you can just shuffle that back in. But like in practice at a competitive level event, that is a warning for the player, and they probably have to spend a click to draw. That's one I feel a little bit weird about, where it's like, okay, if the judge is watching and it's like the player immediately is like saying mandatory draw for the second time, I wonder if that is a situation you're supposed to like respect to some extent. But I don't know. That's what I'm thinking about. I think the rest of the judge calls were pretty normal. I think something I tried out, and like I need to like there's like a bulletin of like things I want tournament organizers to try out. One of them I didn't end up doing. No, Lucille, we're just doing NANPC Boston recap. New projects will be after this. So 2 things we're trying out. One is if you're over hand size and you realize it on the opponent's turn, the resolution we tried doing for this event was a judge randomly discards cards from your hand. This is, I think, an improvement to the World's policy where it's a game loss because we can't like fairly discard cards for a player. I think there's potentially a world where we could say something like, if there's a copy of a unique card, discard that first. But I think honestly, just saying a player gets cards randomly discarded from their hand, they do not trigger discard effect, like they do not trigger any effects, is probably like a more robust judge ruling, and something I need to like say like, hey TOs, please try this out and let me know how it feels. Another thing I want to try out, and this is Jeff taking off his OP hat and just as a tournament going person, something I wonder about is, should we think about doing, so just very what would tournaments look like if it was 2 turns instead of 1 turn when time is called? What do you have to change about how the length of a round? And what does that change about play patterns? Because right now, the way the game is set up, if the corp doesn't have the potential to win on the board when time is called, they generally cannot win at all. And I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing. Um, and yeah, there were some interesting calls at Worlds where or at this event where someone said, "Hey, I can show that the runner has no way of surviving their next turn. So instead of a tie, I would like a win." And I have to go, "No, you only have a single turn. You cannot win in that single turn, and so the game is done." And that's not really the intent here. I think the intent is more to look at things that are like, hey, a scoring deck right now, if they don't have an agenda in the remote, their ability to score is 0. And so it's a little bit different. And I don't know sort of how that would go. I see Clayton saying, my opinion is about time is called the winner should always get the last turn, so there's an equal number of turns for both players. Hate that sometimes Corp gets an extra turn. That's an interesting perspective I hadn't thought about, so I'll think about that. Yeah, Jason basically saying the same thing, where technically Corps can get one more turn than the runner. So that's an interesting thing to think about. And yeah, Aksu, part of my thinking is, okay, if we said it was 2 turns, you probably have to take some time off of the round timer so that everything goes to the same amount of total time. And that becomes tricky as well. I also spent some time during this event, when time was called, going and policing tables and saying, hey, you have a minute to take your extra turn. Because the other thing I was doing was timing turns and just watching how long people were taking at turns. Because to some extent, I need to at some point come up with guidance for what a long slow play is. And it's difficult, especially I was watching people play the Stule deck. It was extremely complicated. I was watching people play the sports deck. It was not complicated until suddenly it was. And it's just it is very hard to there's not going to be a number that you can put on slow play. But there needs to be a policy for it at some point, and I don't know what the right thing is for that. So, yeah, basically my expectation for people that are planning to go to Worlds, when time is called, I am going to have judges watching every table and telling people they have no more than a minute to take their turns. And they have to make it work, right? We don't have time. I know you care about your game, but as a tournament organizer, I have to organize an event for 250 people. I cannot have 6 or 10 people hold up 250. And the NANPC Boston event, actually, we started 15 minutes late and finished on time. We made up time by just running rounds clockwork, which I think is good. So yeah, I don't know. Yeah, Theo, that is sort of why I feel 2 turns is maybe a little bit better than 1 turn, is because the slow play advantage is very pronounced, and it's asymmetric on sides and it's asymmetric with decks, and so to some extent, 2 turns is just gonna kick that can down the road a little bit, so you have to come up with some reasonable cutoff. But there is part of me that says, hey, there's a whole archetype of corpse that cannot ever use that last turn, and runners will always be able to use that last turn. So maybe we want to reconsider that a little bit. Anyway, let's go back to NANPC Boston. Erica bringing same host as everyone, and this is a punitive restoring humanity deck. This deck did pretty well in the Swiss. It unfortunately got a game loss to a Decklist issue, and you can see Erica did a little write-up about it. It went 2-1 and an ID, I believe. Or actually, this might actually be a timed win. I'd have to go and check. But yeah. Lucille asks, saying, I feel like the number of games to go to time is also important to consider. It feels like the number has gone up to me in the past year or so. Uh, I don't know that that is really true. There are some players that very consistently go to time. There was about, I would say there was usually between 2 and 3 tables out of 20 that were going to time. Um, yeah, this list does have Takobi. I talked to Erica after. She said it should be a turbine instead, and you just play with the influence a bit. Um, and this one does have Ashen Epilogue, which is actually, I think, pretty common among these Hoshiko decks. Henry had this very nice, like, Engine Arasana list. This is not. This is running Compilation, which we saw do. Like, this is how you take my list and tech it for Thule. You play Cataloger as your R&D multi-access, and you play Compilation to defuse traps, and then also he's playing 2 no free lunch. So he was very tacked for the Thule matchup that he was also bringing. I suspect that this Arasana deck should be like maybe 60% against the Thule, and like was very good on the day. You can go and see. I think he went. Let's go check. He went 3-1, which is great. Right. This is a very good record. Let's see. Now we have Eric Keelback playing the Snarebearer Sports. This is the canonical list with 2 influence left for God, or 1 for God and 1 for Jehovah? No, not Jehovah. Oh god, I'm gonna forget this. I'm gonna get memed on by the Snarebearers, which they always do. Oh good, Santa's got his deck lists out, so we can look at his write up too. Deck lists. Where are we? Wait, did it make it to... No. I just must have missed it on this page. Blame never changes. Great. So I'm going to look at it on this page. It's a little bit, I think, nicer to look at. But basically, this is like almost card for card a list that was run before. Audacity, Biotic Labor, Increasing Red Level, and Bass, just for a little bit of extra fast advance. And then, yeah, your standard 12 agendas. This list is just very consistent at saying, hey, if the runner's playing a regular game plan, especially now that they've all cut dirty laundries, we can just kind of get some gas going. And the ice beat's just annoying enough. Eric did a very nice realization, which is, while this isn't great ice, it is enough ice that you can kind of gear check. So, yeah. So I would argue that Santa's Hoshiko didn't get into the grand finals. His Thule got into the grand finals. His matchups were Hoshiko into Sports Medal, and that's, a close matchup, but then win as Thule, and then loses Hoshiko and loses Thule, right? So, like, this is also the advantage of going in top seed. You can sometimes just play one of your weaker side. I don't know that's actually his weaker side. I think it was the weaker side in that his Thule deck was better, not that his Hoshiko deck was weak. Right? So, that is what it is. Yeah, I don't know you can make a distinction between which one of these is really stronger. Okay, we should also talk about Eric's list, and I have to... So, like... we were talking about this a little bit with Eric, and like this list is really fun. Like this list is just like genuinely like I think this list is one of the best lists that you can just sit down and have a fun game of Netrunner with, because it is like effectively no tricks and just like pummel the corp. And I think something that we were talking with Eric about is like his play style right now is just so aggressive. And like that works out really well against the type of field of corpse that we were seeing on the day, especially because many corps are trying to come up with a way to combat these like super end game Hoshiko decks. And so it's like hitting at a different tempo and gear. And Um, like I think it is a thing where like, do I expect to see Zaya be a consistent archetype? I don't think I do. Um, but I think this. I don't think that's a put down of the deck. I think this deck is very good. I think it is a Hoshiko feels like it has the more consistent ceiling rather than this deck, which requires a very particular play pattern and a lot of understanding of the game. Um, and Eric played it very well. He also identified what his outs were against every corp and played to those outs and like got lucky. But this deck, is probably the quintessential make your own luck deck with Hermes, Docklands, and Twinning. Like that's how you start making your own luck. And then also stuff like Inside Job Boomerang. Like this is a very well constructed list. It is not surprising to me that Eric was able to pilot this to a win. Um, but like yeah, this deck list is lever, and yeah, Hermes is another make your own luck card as Theo is calling out. Um, so like this is a very nice list. I don't know. I don't think I would ever play this list because I am not, or that's not true. I don't think I would play this list at a tournament because I think the expertise that this list requires is one that I don't have lots of reps with, but it is a list that Eric has a lot of reps with and experience with going back like years at this point. Whereas I have never built up the like good crim like Leela muscles that this deck is really leading on. And I think that is genuinely a skill set that not that many people have, and so that's like almost more to me why we're not going to see a ton of this deck rather than this deck's like power level relative to other things. I think it has some scaling issues, in particular the Shibboleth scaling into like MICs. I think is like very suspect, but we also didn't see any MICs. I can just see a meta where we shift more towards high strength Jinteki and HB code gates, and things go wrong. Even if you look at something like Arzan's like 2x Piranhas with a rhyme, like I think Eric just has to win before two Piranhas get res. If both Piranhas get res, I think he has an extremely long, like if there's a Piranhas on R&D and a Piranhas on HQ, Eric has an extremely big hill to climb in that style of matchup. And so if we see things shift towards that, I could see this deck falling off a little bit. But conversely, like this deck does just go and access everything in centrals potentially before that goes. Dapper Ratchick asking you, can you talk about no doof? I'm going to try and quote channel Eric for a second and just go, doof is too slow for like it doesn't do what you want to do in this deck. Maybe Eric should actually like say something more eloquent than that. But basically, doof is tempo negative and like and yeah, actually Eric is hitting the correct thing, which is who is doof good versus, which is okay, doof is effectively blank against sports, right? It's probably okay against the Thule decks until they res a Regolith. PD, Eric will say he already has like a 60% PD matchup with this set of cards, so why include a card to make that matchup even more tilted? Basically, Eric's point is that Boomerang Inside Job makes the remote very, very thin, and then the PD is not ready to withstand a Docklands Pass, Hermes, Twinning, Wake Implant runner really early. Like, PD wants to ice up one central and the remote, and this deck actually says you have to ice up both centrals and the remote if you're trying to play that style of game plan. And so Doof doesn't change when that happens, and it's not that good against sports. It's not that good against the like punitive bacterial lists because they're going to YDL like your digital life anyways. It's not that good against Ob. Eric will say that he's just super favored against Ob. I think, he's beaten me in like 2 or 3 testing games. I will always say that was a little bit of like variance, but I think, Eric's point would be, hey, that falls in the reg and mid-range style deck. It's Divergent's not even that good against Ob. It's actually a pretty bad card because they're running border controls, and so they're just going to shut down your Divergence anyway. So this list just like plows over a lot of that set of corpse where this should be good. Against like asset decks, diversion's actually usually a blank card. They will divert all their funds into assets or just make all their money on assets back. I think one thing that's like actually made diversion like much worse, weirdly enough, and this is like a card that I would never have pegged for being this impactful. Regolith Mining License has just like solved a lot of corp econ problems in a way that's kind of odd. But yeah, I don't know. I think it's kind of interesting. Okay, we are finishing up. We are at Eric. We have Ian again playing the Snare Bear Hoshiko. It's playing a Stargate, but then turbines, echelons. This one's actually on fermenters, which I don't think most of them. Oh no, they were all on fermenters, right? Okay. Chris is playing the legwork. Where is that influence coming from? Is it coming from the pinhole threadings? Yeah, so in this case, it's cutting 2 pinholes for a legwork. There's like going to be some other slot. Like, I think basically what we decided was like each person has their own particular flavor of what they like, how they like to play the matchups. And Hoshiko is just such a core, like the shell of Hoshiko, which like, okay, I'm going to like, let's just like grab some like guaranteed cards. I'm going to say Maw. I think like there was a lot of discussion. I don't think I'm leaking anything by saying like a lot of people are playing around with Strike Fund or Patchwork in Hoshiko, and I think it's powerful. I think it is significantly worse against the way the meta is going. If you're playing Patchwork into a field of sports metal, you're playing the wrong game. You're just going to lose on like tempo. And so Ma is this really important card for just like saying, I am not going to lose tempo. I am going to disrupt the way you're trying to win. To me, these cards are the shell. And like the exact counts of some of these can be 2x's rather than 3x's. And then like you can kind of season to taste how many pinholes, how many raindrops. Do you play the Ashen? Do you play the second Miss Bones? Like you have lots of choices, but they're on the margin choices. They are not, and like it's a thing in the meta right now where I don't know that we have, especially because the corpse side is undefined. You don't know exactly what you're giving up by playing one versus the other. Like, do I think Stargate is a little bit better than Legwork in this field? Yeah, I think if the field looks like Sports Metal and Thule, I would probably rather be playing Stargate than Legwork. But if everyone's playing mid-range, I would probably rather be playing Legwork than Stargate. And like Stargate, but Stargate synergizes better with the price. But like, there's all these things, right? This Hoshiko deck has such a high ceiling, and it does not feel like to me that what you do with like 5 of the influence and 5 of the slots actually has that big of an impact because the core of the deck is so strong. So, and like honestly, coming from, I am starting to feel like that's actually the case for Arasana builds as well. Like Alex's Arasana builds is completely different, but like my Arasana build felt very, very strong. We're seeing, I think someone else, like Henry's felt very strong, and it's like, yeah, what you do with your last couple of influence and what you do with your last like 5 cards is a season to taste and to player preference. And runner side, like it feels like you can get away with that right now. And that's like a thing I don't actually love about this meta. It feels quite runner favored, even if Thule like made this specific event fairly balanced. Actually, I should. Oh shoot. Let me try and find this summary. If people haven't seen this, oh, hold on. Let me make sure I'm not getting pinged for anything important. Okay, hold on. I need to go and find, because someone has been doing. it was Kikai has been doing these post-tournament reports that I think are fantastic. Or like I'm very glad that someone is doing them, and I have to try and find them. No, I could have sworn they were in here. Oh no. Ah, here we are. Oops. Okay, this is going to take me a second because I have to get like redirected around things. Okay. I have to go and pull this up. Okay. No, thank you. Okay, so this is the NANPC Boston report, and I think I disagree with some of the stuff here, but also I was there and Kikai was not, so I have some advantage. Yep, cut to Swiss streams, top cut Decklist, links there. Criminal attendance, almost matched Anarch. Yeah, NBN did quite poorly, and we have Barthul and things like that. Where was the thing I was... Oh, runner win rate overall, which is 55%, which will be a reassuringly low number. I don't think 55% is a reassuringly low number. To me, this is a close to warning level number. And that's like different. That's like a personal taste thing to me. But 55% runner metas tend to, from my past experience, are ones where corps have to get lucky to win. And generally, the way that win rates work is corps start above runner win rates and then go down. But seeing that corps are already at, or runners are already at 55%, I expect that win rate to still go up. And that's like worrying to me. I think, we'll have to see what the SBT does. I chatted, I don't think SBT was expecting this ban list to be perfect. I think this ban list is a improvement on not having it. But a 55% runner rate to me is like, I hope SBT is planning on doing a ban list immediately following Continentals with the additional data. Because if this holds or anything, or if it expands, which honestly feels quite plausible to me, stuff is going to need to change. Dapper Rochik saying Hoshiko's been tier 1 for like 2 years. I think the only card that's been in every version is Steelskin. I think the only other card that's been in every version is Hoshiko. I think, I say that and I'm like, I do think actually banning Hoshiko like completely changes the Anarch card pool. I think Hoshiko, the problem with the Hoshiko deck is not that Hoshiko is a completely busted ID. Hoshiko, I think, is a power level of ID that was appropriate for a certain format of the game, but probably is too high based on the fact that we've been printing all of these other high synergistic Anarch cards. Because the problem is not that any of these cards are like super above curve. I have cooled a little bit on Mystic and Paladin being completely bonkers. I think they could totally get banned like Rozeki got banned for basically the same reason. But the problem to me is and I'll get is that the whole package in Anarch is too synergistic, and Hoshiko is the most powerful Anarch ID by a significant margin in a way that asks you to pay no deck building costs. So Jason's saying, I mean, you just play all the same cards then in lieu, right? And I think the answer is that doesn't work. Or at least I don't think it works. It might work, but I think it won't because of how different the triggers are, right? Hoshiko just says, make a run, access a card, and you either get 2 credits or a card and minus a credit, right? And that is a very different condition than access a card and be able to trash it. it took until the Nobkuri Lu engines got going where you could actually just kind of like make things happen. And like we've tried like you could play Reg Lu. It is not going to like we could play it tomorrow, and maybe that's something that SBT should be like, hey, we need some sleeper agents to play Reg Lu. I think the deck is unplayably so much worse than Hoshiko. Because like turn one, Hoshiko can run a server and generate value. For Lu to generate value turn one off of a run, he has to be up against an acid deck, he has to have credits in hand, or he has to have a card like Imp or Carnivore. And like genuinely, am I gonna play Carnivore Lu on stream at some point? I think so. I think it's probably with Ashen Epilogue a viable option, but I don't think it's going to be anywhere near something you would consider until something like until the alternatives go away a lot. And like some of this is I'm not sure that it's like it's also this weird thing where it's like, hey, I'm complaining about Hoshiko. But like genuinely, I think Henry and Alex's Arasana decks, like and probably even Eric's Zaya deck, are very close in power. And so maybe like I think some of this there's two different things I think happening. One is I think Hoshiko and the Anarch card pool is very, very strong. And it is extremely consistent. Like the variance between games is very, very low because the price and moshing and Hoshiko mean that Anarchs get set up in 6 turns or less. And it is extremely difficult for a Corp to make a window when they can have Turbine Cleaver Buzzsaw down by turn 6. Like that's just not a thing that Corps... I would say it's probably a good thing that Corpse cannot beat that consistently. But it is a bad thing that Hoshiko gets there consistently. And so to me, that does need to change. At the same time, other runners are not that far behind. And I don't know how you address that problem. So yeah. Yeah, Lucille, if you want to get a sense of how unproductive some of my playtest reports are, I spent a long time doing Carnivore Audrey double or triple Ashen Lu. It was a lot of fun. It was not very good, but it was a ton of fun. Maybe we'll do that on stream at some point. But yeah, so like I feel like there's one problem, which is I am sick and tired of Hoshiko just being like a consistent deck that feels like it builds itself and is just so powerful it shuts down all mid-range corps. And then we have the second problem of probably all runners are a little bit too strong right now. And like Jason's saying, I wonder how different the rig is without Turbine. Like genuinely to me, if all Hoshiko decks had to play Takobi, I actually think that opens up the space a lot. I think the reason that people are wary of banning Turbine is, one, we're banning a Shaper card for Anarch Sins again, though I don't buy that argument very much. And two, I think there are some fair concerns that then every single player should just play Sokka's BTL. And like... I don't want that to be the experience of the meta, and I don't want that to be the strategy. Now, I'm not sure that Turbine actually is the thing that keeps the valve on those super ice decks, but yeah. Game of Droid is asking if we talked Corpse side yet. We have not in depth, right? Oh yeah, like Bran and actually the other one. Yeah, Bran is the big one that we see right now. I think the other one, and this is my call out, is if Turbine goes, Bodo is going to be a real problem too. It is basically the same effect as Bran in a lot of cases. Now, Threat 4 is going to make it much fairer, but like it's not that difficult for this card to get nuts. Like Jinteki can have this like very annoying suite of like a teeny Bodo and what's the snake? Cloud Eater, right? So like we could see Corpse, if Turbine goes, just being like, cool, all my ice is 5 to 6 strength. Like that exists, and we have Regal with the mining license in the game to pay for all this stuff. It is very slow. It is very grinder, or it is a very methodical, like hyper. What I always call hyper glacier. Um, but yeah, my sense right now for Corpse is you're a little bit fucked, because you cannot play fairly against Hoshiko and win. That is basically my conclusion from NANPC Boston. Op is too fair, which is like throwback to 2 years ago, or when Hafren Stavka was released and people were freaking out. I genuinely think Stavka Hafren is too fair for the meta right now. PD, I think, gets away with it. Like, PD didn't actually make the top cut, right? PD did go 3-1 and 3-1. So, like, Jonas and Toby are out by one game, and it's a runner loss that they're both out by. So, maybe PD is good enough. Maybe they got these PD wins against players that were a little bit softer than people in the top cut. We have to go back and look at the analysis and be like, you know, were these PD losses against the best players or kind of whatever? Yeah, PD feels like it is like right on the edge of being playable, and it's the only fair deck that deck that is trying to score out of a remote with an agenda that it leaves in the server. We've seen, like, I think this deck didn't do super well, but I do genuinely think the Regenesis Bacterial stuff is like a reasonable route to go. Like, you just have to go for these corps that are like super orthogonal to what a reg game plan looks like. So that's why Sports Metal was good. That's why Thule was good. I think that's why Restoring Humanity has some gas. Like, all the reports I hear is that like Ag Infusion feels terrible because they break all your ice for 2 to 3 credits. And like, to me, like that, like, you have to change that if you want. Like, to me, this is if these are the corps we're seeing that make the cut, is, you know, Sports Metal, Thule, Punitive RH, Fast Advance, everything from hand yellow. Like, this to me, and we're only scraping a 45% win rate. To me, this is a red alert on like something like things are going to need to change. But this is one event. This is 40 people, mostly I would say in 2 testing groups. And so we're going to see tomorrow a lot more testing groups and a wider range of players give their opinions on what they think the meta is, and we might see a different story. But yeah. This is sort of kind of, I don't know. It's a little bit. This is I think this meta. I don't think this meta is going to be great, and that sucks to say because I think it has a lot of components to make. Like, I think I do still think that the TIA meta was fantastic. I don't know why the RWR meta has ended up so worried about, or has been kind of so disappointing to me. And I think there's options for SBT and for players to save this. It's just something that I'm not excited about right now. PD is the fair corp. I think it's close to that, yeah. I think it's just about the closest to the fair corp. And yeah, maybe you do just have to ban the price. Like, genuinely, maybe that's the solution. And I think that sucks because I think the price is an interesting card. I would like rather ban stuff like labor rights and mosh. Like, I would rather look to try and make sure it has downsides rather than ban it. But maybe you just can't do that. Like, I don't know. I don't envy being like, I would ban Hosh, but I don't know that I genuinely don't know what the right ban list is for this meta. It feels like it's banning like a half dozen cards, which is just too much, most likely. And like makes Worlds extremely unstable. So yeah, I don't know. Um, I do think this is a great meta for if you're a creative. Like, it's weird. I don't love this meta, I think, but one of the neat things about it is if you can come up with unorthodox things, this is a decent meta for it. Um, and you can get away with some very kind of interesting, I don't know, deck building decisions with stuff. And yeah, it's like, hey, if every corp is going orthogonal and fast advance, maybe you should be playing Jachinho. Like genuinely, it would have actually cleaned up at this event if it made it in. Yeah, I do think Turbine kind of has to go, and you wait to see if corps become a problem. I don't think they will. Like, I genuinely think there's options in the card pool to make it so that Turbine-less runners have options. I think Turbine has to go, and probably Hoshiko has to go, uh, but yeah, we'll see. We'll see. Okay, so I have another project in here. This project is I don't know how many of you have seen the like card market series of videos where they will do like top 8 single limb bracket for like best of all time style of stuff. And best deck, like best standard deck of all time, best modern deck of all time. They just did a best popper of all time, I think. And I was like, hey, this could be a fun thing to do for Netrunner. But we don't have 30 years of decks to build. And I don't just want to take like the top place deck from each. So what I've done is I've created a curated list of 2 kind of players from each year, but they're not an actual player. No one was playing Hot Potato and Aesop's Haley. But Hot Potato was a deck that nobody was playing, or that isn't like anything else in this world's list, and was played this year and made top 16. And so that was the criteria, was it had to be in the top 16. So if this is something where the first thing I have to do with this is play 4 rounds of Swiss so that I could actually get the top 8 from all of this. And so if playing these retro decks for 3 to 4 weeks, because I genuinely want to get this done as fast as possible, is something that is of interest to you, I'm going to post the link to this. And you can put your name next to a year and a deck you want to play. We will organize things in the Discord link here. This is my Discord. I don't have moderation in this. Please don't make this a big thing at the moment. But I would love to be able to get a bunch of people in here, fire this off starting this weekend, or starting after US Continentals, and blitz through this. My expectation is not that we're going to have people that are experts on the list. I will probably say, hey, if neither of you have played the list before in the first round, play a practice set and then go in and do that. I may do the thing, like, I'm hoping I get more people volunteering than there are slots. If I do, I might do some stuff of, hey, I'm going to, have someone, I'm going to nominate someone. But, like, I don't care that much if you're bad at the game, because my expectation is that Eric playing this NBN Fast Advance deck from 2013 is probably not going to keep up with anything else in the format, right? This is a deck that's playing Beanstalk Royalties and Green Level Clearance. It's playing a closed accounts with its only way to... It's playing 3x closed accounts with its tag generation being a Bernice Mai, Draco, and that's it. So, like, deck building was a little bit different in 2013, and this is not knocking Andrew Veen. This list came in second place and was quite good. It does some very good things for the time, but I don't think that's going to keep up with, say, Hate Bear, which is my bet for the current best runner deck of all time. I think we'll find out. I might be wrong, or not of all time. This is a thing that people, some of the Snare Bears have gotten angry at me about. I am not putting some of the strongest decks of all time. There's no Dumblefork in this list. Reason being, nobody found Dumblefork for Worlds, and then it got banned to the dirt before it showed up. And so I'm trying to restrict things to Worlds just to give us a snapshot of the things. And yeah, Jason, this format is weird, right? Where your corp win rate is affecting how well your runner ranks. What I will do is I will have people play the Swiss, and if there's a runner deck that's like, oh yeah, this runner went undefeated, but the corp didn't win a game, was like, I'll do some honorable mentions, and I'll probably have people like send me replays so I can like show some replays of decks that like didn't make the top 8. My expectation though is that in 4 rounds, like there's not going to be that many disparities where like, oh yeah, the runner deck was absolutely cracked and the corp deck can't win a game. I think in general they should be kind of interesting. But basically, I would really like to fill this out. I will fill out some number of these slots. I'll be filling in for people. But, like, please, if this is something that sounds interesting to you and you have some time over the next 3 to 4 weeks, please do sign up. And I will make sure you get a thank you and a shout out in the comments. And exactly what the top 8 will look like is a little bit to be TBD. I kind of want to do an in-person film session for that. But that's a little bit difficult for me to do with my current setup, so I would be trying to borrow someone's setup and then finding people to play and all that stuff. So what that format looks like is to be determined, but I think I can make some good stuff out of this. But yeah. If this is interesting to you, please do check it out. I will put a link to this in the description. And yeah, with all that said, my goodness, I've been talking for an hour and 20 minutes without playing any Netrunner. I'm becoming the Metropole grid. Also, like, just to be clear, if someone else has claimed a deck that you want to play, like, you can just add your name onto a new column. But yeah, please do sign up. These matches are just meant to be for fun. They are not meant to be super serious, hyper competitive matchups. I'm expecting these to be very weird and very lopsided. So, yeah. All right. Well, Andre missed his stream this week. Oh yeah, Jason. No, this is maybe the there's a couple of options for best runner deck of all time. Raz and Cheese Plate is definitely on that list too. This is for those of you who don't know this list. This list got FFG to say, "Oops, we did a misprint. Wireless Net Pavilion definitely is supposed to be unique." This sort of thing that definitely sounds unique and is not at all like a unique. As it says, the additional cost is trash a resource, the court must pay 2 clicks. Or 2 credits. And so this deck stacked a bunch of them. It stacked Fall Guys, so you could prevent an installed resource from being trashed. The way that worked was that the corp would have to pay the additional cost, and then you could prevent it. And then you would install DLR, you would be tagged, and then to beat decks that were trying to flatline you, you could install a paparazzi. And so, Jason, the way this tournament is going to work, cards are going to function as they functioned at the time. So, there's a couple of NEH decks that will have 3x AstroScript Pilot Program. Now, actually, I will say, I don't know if we can make the Wireless Net Pavilion one. I don't know that we can make work on Jinteki.net. So if it becomes relevant, we'll figure it out. But my sense is I want to play these decks as they were played at the time. So yeah, you can play 3x Astro if that's in your list. You can play non-unique wireless net pavilion in specifically this one list. I think everything else has it is unique. I think those are like the only two relevant erratas, because somehow Gagarin never. Oh no, okay. I like kind of forced a Gagarin in. Actually, no, Gagarin came in second, so I'm not even really forcing it. But like Gagarin, like hot tubs actually didn't make a world's cut, I think, or like didn't do it in a year where there wasn't also unique things. Rotom's MT is getting some of the highest bump up relative to its actual placement in 2018, but we already had so much CTM. And you might say, Jeff, we have so much Max, and I would say, shush. Max is fun. CTM is not fun, according to Jeff. Okay. So let's have Eric yell at me while I play his deck. Let's go and do that. All right, we're seeing some prep for Continentals. A lot of people grinding it out. I'm excited to see what people bring and how they defeat my expectations. All right, we're up against Always Has Been. Okay. I don't think we want to keep this hand. Though Dockland's C2 and HQ is like okay, I think we can do better than this hand. Yep, we got the wake. Okay, fantastic. Yep, so I think we just wake and run R&D or HQ 3 times. And we're not going to do a last click run against Thule. There's Titan as a runner. I thought I fixed that. Oh yeah, I fixed that here, but not there. Whoops. That's interesting to see already. It does have to change how I play this matchup. Alright, so he's going to get Rashida off here. Oh, we steal a false lead. That's great. We might be dead, though. Hermes install is probably handy here. Yeah. Server 2 is something of interest. False lead is... Oh, yeah, it's the false lead. Of course it is. Okay, so probably am dead here. Steal. Take a core. Oh, this doesn't work. Yeah, yeah, I'm just dead here. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, GG. I need to draw there instead. Ugh, that's annoying. Yeah, I need to stop and think there for more than a half second. Seeing 4 was so tempting, but yeah. I mean, like, this is the thing of, like, yeah, you ban Knobkery, and then that deck comes up. And, like, there's ways to deal with that deck. Like, playing No Free Lunches in this deck would be better. Yeah, I like. It's one of those things where, like, False Lead was not really a problem, and then Misdirection got banned, and I feel like it suddenly became a big problem. Um, but yeah, that's just a click to draw, and he has to have 2 pieces in hand. So what I'm supposed to do is take 2 credits out of the Docklands, click to draw. He's not actually going to kill. He's not going to forfeit the False Lead there. So I just go. Then I can actually click 3, do the big dig, which is kind of funny. Like, I think that's actually the line you're supposed to do. Yeah, I could also copy and paste the stream name, or I could learn to type quickly. We have lots of options here, Cephalopod, none of which I'm going to use. Yeah, I probably could make a script. I probably could make a script for Firefox that just runs, because I use Firefox for streaming and not for my other stuff. This hand seems not great. The class act is fine against restoring humanity, but it's like it does help a bit. Okay, well, we've managed to get into a worse hand here. We went from a hand with some econ to no econ. But that's fine. That's fine. And Boomerang is definitely at its worst against Jinteki right now. They're full of 3 sub ice. All right. Oh, let's zoom in a touch, because this is a matchup where we don't need to be tiny. I think I can even zoom in one more. That's where I'm aligned. I think this is like a click 1 install Hermes, click 2 run R&D, gain a credit, click 3 draw, click 4 install the class act or something like that. We're just gonna steal an agenda here, bounce HQ. Okay, I mean that's good to trash, yeah. Let's run R&D again. Okay, and then we're gonna draw. 2 twinnings is not ideal. I'm not sure why Eric cut all the class acts. I feel like those would have been pretty nice. But 2 Rashidas down, not too bad. Yeah, Cyber Feeder definitely one of the iconic arts. Did they flip it for the reprint? I'm trying to remember. Or is it just randomly flipped in some arts? Or by randomly, I'm sure it's like to make something work, but like... Yeah, I feel like the original printing of Cyber Feeder had the art in the opposite direction. Okay, yeah, they did flip it. I guess we can quickly check, right? Cyber Feeder. You can see core set. Yeah, core set has it printed in the other direction. What a weird little difference. Okay. Time to see if we die. It's actually pretty hard for us to die here. And this is part of why this deck can be a little bit silly. Yeah, Zeroth Max, but this is the Boston winning Crim deck by some nobody. Yeah, the nice thing is we can just go credit, install a class act because we haven't gained our Zaya dollar here yet. Problem being we're going to be on 0 credits after that point. Yeah, I actually think this is often correct as the corp, is you want to like make sure the top of the deck isn't anything bad. But in this case, I get a little bit of extra life here. I like that this is now, if you imagine for real worlds for a second, this is 2 players splaying out 9 and 12 card hand sizes respectively. In what is just, I think, ultimately an extremely silly setup. Okay, we're going to play Subliminal Messaging. Makes sense. Digital Life to gain 11. I don't think that ordering is correct. You should play your Digital Life first. It gets you 1 extra credit. It's a very minor thing. It does not actually matter in this situation, because even 2 punitives does not kill. Okay, so they're repping a Spin Doctor in server 1. It could be a Regenesis, but I can just run it. There's a big part of me that says it's correct to run it, but I think it's maybe not. I wish I had a better... I wish I could, like, do more than I can do this turn. I'm gonna run R&D. Just to make $1. Desperado on a console. Let's frickin' go. Hopping Spin Doctor. Okay. So I could die here under certain circumstances, but I'm not going to. I'm going to go credit, credit. Yeah, why would I be afraid of snares here? I'm going to be discarding half my hand anyway. Like, what is a snare going to do to me? Like, what are they going to do? Snare me? Like, so what? Okay, so I'm going to need Shibboleth. So I don't need Bones. I don't need the second Twinning. I need to discard 4 additional cards here. Am I installing this Earthrise? I think potentially. I think Bioband's... So Bioband's Chesvi is good. Maybe I can give up the second class act here. Twinning, Boomerang, Shibboleth. I have to pick... Is it really the Chesvi or is it the bands? I think it's the bands. I think the bands are not doing as much as I need here. So now we're going to see an Anansi on R&D. I guess I just can hold the class act so I can just check archives, install, or it's actually, sorry, that's the wrong order. It's install the class act, then check archives, then click for credits. That was the thing I was supposed to do. So I have to draw a class act right now. I did not draw a class act right now. Do I try and draw a class act here? Or boomerang server 2. Buy a band server 2. Because I think this is the Regenesis. If this is the Anansi, I'm about to get completely blown up. I can install the shibboleth for free here. It's maybe what I'm going to do if assuming I make it through. I guess I always make it through. If this is a snare, that's actually A tier. Okay, Vampire Nasa actually makes a lot of sense here. So I'm going to break the due to net damage. And draw up to 2. Then we can let the unbroken subroutines fire. Now I'm going to breach the server. I'm going to draw 2 cards. Install a card from the grip, paying 1 less. And it is a snare. Oh, wow. Opponent got me. Okay. We'll pay 0 to trash. We'll shuffle Boomerang back, and we'll draw a card. I'm not even that mad. I, like, genuinely don't think that sets us back that much. We're going to lose the Paladin here, I think. But, you know, so it goes. So we think it's a Nazi on R&D here. I mean, if my opponent wants to spend a turn blowing up this board, I do not care at all. Like, they are free to do a bad play. Like, I'm not sure what my opponent just accomplished, other than costing themselves some credits. Maybe I'm being a little too harsh, but... Like, yeah, I lost a Paladin. They lost a click and 2. It's not that bad. Like, they effectively spent 6 to trash that Paladin. Hey, Cinderin. Am I playing Bravado here? What am I need to go and look. So it's 2 Paladins. I think I can discard my twinning here. This is probably going to be Regenesis score. Though they can't actually play that subliminal. It's funny because like Ray DS just loses to inside, or doesn't lose to inside job, but loses quite a bit to inside job there. Fuji makes some sense. Okay, so this is going to be Gamble, Docklands, Run HQ, Punitive, makes sense, Tatu Bola, yep. And draw the card. Okay, that's not what we wanted. We have 2 inside jobs and 2 boomerangs in the deck. So we're at about a 1 in 6 to find the piece we need. I guess we can also just straight up tank the Vampy here if we need to. It's only 2 net damage. Our cards in hand are pretty blank. 2 net damage, 2 credits to go through a Vampy. Could be that there's 3 points in archive still. It's actually pretty plausible. So if I just bravado HQ here, regardless of what gets put down, like it might be the Tatu Bola, it could be Oxo. I don't know that I understand how to play the Xylus, but we're trying to find it out. It's just, it is very much like, how do I apply pressure in the potent spot right this second, right? Or at least that's how I'm trying to play it. We'll see. Maybe I've really messed up, but... Okay, so I'm going to go draw. Bravado HQ. Alright, well that's unfortunate. That's more fortunate, honestly. I don't know if Eric is still here. Do I take the access here? I know that one card is punitive. That's probably the Tatu. We're going to take the access here. Saisentan, punitive, gain 2. We are at 15. I don't have the clicks I need to do this. If I draw Biobands, that's good. I don't. Yeah, I think I die here most of the time, but I kind of have to make it. Kind of have to make my opponent work for it. Oh, wait, I get to... Well, that doesn't help, really, but... Yeah, I'm just dead here. I'm dead to credit punitive. No, I'm just dead here. Okay. Yeah, so maybe the tag did something there in that I couldn't put the Earthrise down. Was the other order correct? Run archives, then run HQ? I don't think so. I don't know why that order would be correct. Because my opponent with a punitive in hand... Okay, so I guess the argument for doing it that way is so that I don't take any damage. I don't have to take any damage. I just run archives. The thing is, I don't have enough credits, right? And so opponent can say, I guess I need to find a second punitive, right? Bounce Genesis to hand and then try and steal it. Okay, no, that's reasonably. You're right, Aksu. It's not a high percentage line, but it's probably a better line than the one I took. There's also a world where I say, oh, you have to actually find both of them. But this is like actually a good starting hand here, which is good. Yeah, have her a fun. Like, that probably does suggest it is the better line. I wonder if a compilation or two would work. It might. I think there's probably other things you'd put in here as tech first. Like, I do just think, like, a no free lunch is probably better. Yes, it doesn't help in that specific matchup. I think there's other, like, genuine, like, I don't know how good that deck is into Maw. I don't know how good that deck is into, like, Deep Dive Shaper. Um, so. Hey, GG Fire Breathe, right? Sorry for bailing on you kind of quick. I was kicking myself a bit for how I played that, but you know you played it well. You just had the win in hand, so I was like, I don't want to wait for a bacterial to resolve because that's going to take it's going to take an hour. Um, which of these do we not need right now? Um, Carmen is nice to have early, but I don't think I need it this early. I think next turn can just be sure gamble, run R&D, Earthrise. We got the Shibboleth down and get the Shibboleth down. Like this can be a pretty quiet. We can just kind of go quietly here. Um, okay. Bravado's quite nice here. Gamble, Shibboleth. I think Earthrise is fine though. Yeah, the Earthrise earlier, like the snare tag did end up being more relevant to me than the snare damage. Snare damage I don't think mattered that much. Um, but yeah, so I think this is to me looking something like Bravado HQ into Inside Job Server 1. Um, Now it's actually just Inside Job Server 1. Uh, I think it's Bravado HQ first. There's like, if I lose the Inside Job to damage, I'm a little bit sad. Um, I think it's supposed to actually just be Inside Job, click 1, but no, this is alright. Well, I'm going to lose the Inside Job here to net damage. Yeah, of course I did. Um, let's run server 1 here. Steal a timely public release. I wonder if Lucille didn't count her credits properly. I think I'm just going to buy a band's archives here. Draw 2 cards. Still a card from the grip, paying 1 less. And I'm just going to draw for a little bit of safety. All right, Hermes is fantastic here. A cohort, so that's just going to go down next turn. We feel a little bit bad about Bones. Is Charlotte good in Punitive Techie? I don't think so. Charlotte clogs up the remote, and the game. They're just trying to win the game. Like that deck actually, like the punitive RH list loses if the game goes long. So I'm not sure. Okay. That reads kind of like a Charlotte to me, but we'll find out what our tools are. Okay, well, let's use Earthrise. We don't need another Hermes. Wait, what? Did I have? Oh, I have 1 Hermes in hand. Right. Let's get the Hermes down. Let's run archives just to see what that ice was. That will tell us something. It'll tell me what I should get with a mutual favor. Oh, okay. Hermes will bounce this. Okay, so we're in a very commanding position now. We're also at 8 credits. So I don't even know if your digital life punitive kills. It would be 7 to play each punitive. Go to 14. So Lucille, we need to get to 14. Oh, but then cohort's going to be worth 2. So yeah, I probably just need to install the class act for safety here. It's just like install class act and never lose, right? This also could just like it's most likely this is this is just like bacterial is the best 5/3 for this slot, and it's not like it's not actually a kill list because nothing else in this list is consistent with a kill. Yeah, actually, because now there's only 6 cards in hand, so I'm like actually not going to bother respecting it, I think. Gain a credit. I should probably trash this cohort, but I'm going to wait a turn, I think, just to like... Yeah, this looks like Andre's red Asa deck, which just has bacterials as good 5/3s. Yeah, I believe that. Yeah, so like the correct line there is to not play around the kill, install bones, and go and kill the cohort. All right, so we are super flooded as the corp here is what this gameplay is saying. And now I'm going to suffer a bit for not having the cohort down. I think it's going to be... I might take the single on R&D here. I think that's actually okay. Earthrise. We'll put a Docklands on the bottom. Oh, this is just gross, though. Who needs, like, actual credits when I can pinhole run archives? Chesv. Draw. I didn't need to install the bones there. I like miscounted. I for some reason was thinking that Chesv could pay for the pinhole, but you know, it is what it is. All right, so opponent is investing in the remote, which is why I'm like, okay, Bravado should go on to R&D here. Yeah, opponent is very heavily investing in the remotes, so that's like saying, okay, R&D is going to be cheap. We can put some pressure there. I'm going to draw once. I want both of these. Lucille's going to have to decide what she wants to do here. Yeah, Bodo is very, very good right now. Okay. So Lucille's decided to give up all of her remotes. If we keep the mutual favor here, we're also quite happy. We're never going to steal an agenda here. Lucille doesn't have the credits to fire a snare, so I'm not actually that worried about it. Do I want to draw 2? No, because I could draw a breaker. And I've already drawn this turn, right? Yeah. Yeah, it can be Tatu Bolo on the remote. But if it's Tatu Bola, is there any 3-cost ice that flatlines us here? Yeah, they can res Tatu Bola, right? And they can go to 1 credit. And if they want to, that's fine. I wouldn't be shocked if there was a Tatu there. And we'll just draw again. Inside job feels pretty good. Oh yeah, an enemy does kill me. But this deck's just value. It's just like playing net damage because it's something the runner has to respect. Not because it's like trying to kill. Yeah, that's fair. Probably not a run I needed to make, but or like I can at least draw once there. I probably actually have to draw twice to be safe, but alright, like this is not a bad board state for me. It's not ideal, but okay, that has to be a Charlotte, right? Draw. Draw. Inside job server 2. Let's just get down the twinning this turn. Yes, I'm using Paladin Bucks and not getting twinning, but like that's fine. Yeah. I'm glad to see more people signing up. Draw, draw. So I could like blind pinhole or boomerang. But I think I can just draw, install daily casts, and kind of move on. It's probably going to be Rashida Fire here, but I'm up to 5-0, so I feel like I'm okay to let the gas down a tiny bit. Oh yeah, there's a seamless launch. I don't think this matters to me too much. I guess it is going to be annoying because TPR now lets her do some fast advances. All right, let's draw 2 cards, install a card from the grip, paying 1 less. We'll use Paladin credit and a Chesvi credit. Okay, so how much does this cost to go through? Cost 5, 6, 7. Cost 5 to get strength, so it costs 8 all day. So I somehow don't think this Wake Implant's going to generate me that much value. I think I can sure gamble pass. Oh wait, sure gamble and draw here. Yeah, I should use both Chesvi credits so that I would have more credits on the Paladin. We're not going to worry about me misplaying seriously there. I can boomerang and take 2 net off of this hand because I'm not installing any of these cards. And then just sweep the hand, I think. Which probably then leads to a timely public release. Oh yeah, I'm definitely doing that now. Is this right? Am I actually supposed to just spend $1 million on Kurapira here? I died a snare. Could be annoying. I want to see 2 additional cards. Actually, Lucille has to use TPR immediately here. Okay, cool. So we know the other place is getting an agenda. So we know that server 2 has an agenda. So I think I maybe go... we'll do one... yeah, we can do one on twinning. Teeny. Oh, and the bacterial. Okay. GG. All right, yeah. Okay, so a teeny does kill. That's kind of why I'm like, I don't know that I can actually go right at this thing. Bloom seems not good. Oh, actually, no, I can break a teeny. I forget I do actually have my decoder installed. I think I probably have to go, like, draw anyways, just to try and deal with a potential Anansi. But... yeah. Yeah, it might be that Jinteki is decent at punishing that. I think the Thule loss was avoidable, but... oops. Yeah, I guess Bloom is trying to be tributary, but isn't tributary. Yeah, stream just noticed it. Yeah. I don't know. I'm not sure about the shibboleth. I'm not sure if the shibboleth is better than a cat's cradle. Thule got Nocturne banned. Yeah. Thanks for the game. Thanks for the game, Lucille. We'll do one more of this, and then we'll figure out something else to do, or we might call it early. Because I did do a little brief stream yesterday. I have some cake that I'm waiting to eat after I finish streaming. So this seems like a pretty darn good hand. Because we just have sure gamble into provide. Okay. Let's hope this isn't prison. I'm worried this is going to be prison. I am not playing Continentals, I think. Just doesn't quite make sense for me. I'm helping to run it tomorrow. Okay. I actually think so. I think it's better than you're giving it credit for by saying that Thule dies to precise play. Once it once it gets a false lead scored, it is genuinely you have to have tech to beat. Um, it's not just simple as play good. It wouldn't have almost won the entire event if it was just play good and beat it. Like the event had enough good players where that would have been insufficient. Like you don't have a way to efficiently clear tags after false lead. You don't have a way to avoid the tags like you would with HHN. Um, so like the deck just presents threats in a different way. Oh, don't be some sort of nonsense grinder, please. Are we just getting a thimble rig on tempo? Please tell me we're getting a thimble rig on. Okay, descent on tempo is fine too. Draw, draw, boomerang, bravado. Yeah, we'll trash that and shuffle. Does NFL beat the Thule? Don't they give you tags at a time? Um, it doesn't like a single NFL doesn't hard beat in all situations. Um, but it gives you so it opens up a play pattern for you that can go in your favor. Um, would be my argument. And maybe I have the wrong tech card for it. But basically, stopping the distributed tracing is the big deal. Draw. Shibboleth seems okay. Let's run server 1. Fully break descent, but here Cat's Cradle would be just as good. Pay 1 trash Sheeta. Let's just keep drawing here, though. We don't like this is not burning a hole in my pattern right now. What are we getting as our 1 coster here? Ice Wall. So you're really just saying as soon as I get a Kurapira, go to town. Okay. Not a lot of threats right now, so I'm just going to play a little conservatively. There is some staff run threat sort of being presented, so I have to decide how I want to deal with that. But I think it's probably next turn, like Chesvi, mutual favor for Kurapira, run HQ. Yeah, like this is sort of we sit back for a bit. I think HQ is loaded with agendas right now. We're 18 cards in and no agendas have been dealt with yet. That's probably a Mavirus. Okay, so this mutual favor is actually just dead in hand. That's fine. We go credit, credit, and pass. How are you feeling about Shaper's place right now? I think Hoshiko is going to continue to dominate the events, but that like Shaper's in an okay enough spot. I mean, I just have to do this at some point. If this is the stop cut, Heroes got me. Okay. Probably don't want this to fire. Probably should have installed the Chesvies, but that's fine. Definitely should have installed the Chesvies, actually. We're just going to credit here. I'm going to assume that's a Rashida, because a 3-2 there doesn't make much sense. Yeah, you should probably put away Essa if Thule is a thing. Maybe you have the option of just like completely grinding Thule out, but I'd be suspicious. Okay, so that is probably... So this is a Winchester. It's 2 to boost, break, break, break. If I lose a twinning here, it's okay. Yeah, Kit Loeb decks are fine. The RE decks, I think, are getting quite good. Okay, so we're scoring an agenda out of server 3. Maybe should have inside job there, but... Oh, okay, we're not scoring an agenda out of server 3. That's great. Extract and Rego, so we're trying to get some credits. Yeah, the Thule decks are on Orbital, so like that's actually how Eric was able to win. The Thule deck, I think, was on ontological. Like his line doesn't work for a bunch of reasons, um, rather than just a few. Okay, so next turn is just install Chesney, run HQ. Nick Mason saying best part about Kit Loeb decks is how straightforward they are to play. Thinking is hard. Yeah, how did Kit Loeb do for you on the weekend, Nick? I know you had a rough game against me, but that was on the other that was the other side of the table. So I don't know how Kit was doing for you on the day. Um, okay, yep, we're about to get Stavka Halfrend. So we just have to make this work. I think we still actually we get into server 3 now, so we still have the inside job and boomerang, so we're gonna have some game here, but this is sort of what's gonna happen sometimes. Yep, so we can't get into R&D anymore, but Steel Basalt Spire. Well, Hermes this. Um, like versus Rongi Dodge, I died because of an ablative fire, and I just didn't think about what it meant that he was installing a bass. Yeah. Uh, Zato can stay. I don't get to inside job the reduced services here, right? I don't get to use the Chesney credits during runs. This should cost 2 runs, so I have to run archives here instead. Okay, so Audacity is discarded. That's interesting. Next turn, I do get to see 3 cards on R&D, and I should really try and draw the boomerangs, actually. Because the inside job on server 3 is still potent here. Draw. I mean, running archives here is a click for 2 credits, right? Yeah, we can keep drawing. We can make this work. Okay. Draw. Class act, credit. Okay, we have 2 inside jobs. We did not find the boomerang that I really wanted. Next turn is going to be install another class act. Bravado HQ. Fully break half run. Jack out. Draw a card. Sure gamble. We're going to lose the Hermes. We're going to lose the mutual favor. I think we could inside job R&D. I don't want to right now. I would rather boomerang while there's not that much of a pressure to do so. Because I only get the 2 inside jobs, but I do get an infinite number of boomerangs. But I guess I'm just going to have to. Okay, there's just 2 boomerangs in the bottom 9 here. But that's okay. Probably should have installed the Earthrise. But now it's not really worth installing the Earthrise. Okay. Boomerang. Here. Inside job server 3. Okay. This actually has to be another card. Okay. Border control pop here. Has to be a sandstone. Yep. And I could inside job here, but then I don't get any accesses on centrals for the rest of the game. So I think it's just pinhole archives. The frustrating thing is, like, yeah, if I'm playing Hoshiko here, I've like already won, right? I'm breaking all the stuff. I have 2 of all my breakers. Like, it doesn't matter. So it's like, okay, you know, this person can do what they want. They can play my own deck against me. Like, good for them. I only have 1 boomerang left in the list. R&D is guaranteed to see points. Or not guaranteed to see points, it's guaranteed to see cards, I should say. And it is almost certainly guaranteed to see points, frankly. And I will have inside job on server 3 at some point. Like, at some point, they will probably have to install advance. Don't know why they install ice there. That doesn't make any sense. Like, legitimately, I don't know why you wouldn't just discard that. Let's try and draw our boomerang. Let's try and draw our boomerang, please. Let's try and draw our boomerang. There it is. Bones and TCA. HQ does also have to have points, but we have no way of getting into HQ. Solomir. Border control is effectively impenetrable for us. I don't think so, Jamie, because there was maybe a shuffle, but you're right. That might have been the last possible time. I could lose the inside job here, but I can't really do anything about it. Cool. Never punished. Here's a server. Let's draw 2 cards. We'll put the Waking Plane on the bottom of the stack. And I will spend 4 less for trash costs. We will see 2 additional with Wake. We will see a card from the deck. We'll steal an Above the Law. And then we will bounce this card. We will see a card from the deck. It is a Hedge Fund. We will see a card from the deck. It is a Sandstone. I think this is fine to stay there. It is more active in the bin than it is in my hand. No action. We will gain 1 for each card access. We will shuffle Boomerang back. We know that 2 cards on the top are not. I'm guessing that the Sandstone is going to go there. Okay, we're doing a shuffle to get an ablative. Okay, so now my inside job Boomerang can actually get there. So I'm going to draw. And we're going to draw again. And my god. This card hates me. We also can just go at server 3 now. And win the game. If we get... If this isn't a Zeph, I'm in some trouble. I'm at 2-5 to lose. Okay, so I now have the choice between trying to single on R&D, or sorry, triple on R&D, or go into server 3. So if this is a Zato, and he throws an envelopment, he needs to have a 2 cost and the run. But if I just go draw, Boomerang, the Ice Wall, inside job R&D, let Unbroken Subroutines fire. Break the Ice Wall. Match and fully break. Reach the server. C3. Card from deck. Extract. Card from deck. Powers that be. Sure. Card from deck. Sandstone. We did not get there. Gain 1 for each card I access. Shuffle Boomerang back. I'm not going to draw it this turn. Because if that is an Ozef, I still want to be able to challenge server 3. So Sandstone's 2 away. Because there is the line where I can run him out of searches targets for the border control, but that doesn't really work to get into HQ. Okay, so I was supposed to go in the remote, but now I'll just pinhole threading. I think pinhole threading server 4 is correct. Cool. Oh, I can't pinhole anymore, though. Hmm. So we see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Oh, yes. Install Sandstone just wins here, unfortunately. Yeah, I have to do this, but... So he has to have a 2 cost and the run ice here. All right. Well, we know he has Sandstone, so that's just GG. All right, GG. Like, I don't think this deck beats Hoshiko once. Like, I don't know. This deck actually seems like just a... Like, this is the problem. It's like, yeah, you beat up on this specific Crim matchup. Nope. Yeah. So it goes. Yeah, like this... Yeah. Thanks for the game. Yeah, I mean, maybe what I was supposed to do was not install any breakers, and I didn't need to run like centrals as aggressively as I did, and maybe that's what Eric's gonna scold me for later. But I don't know. I feel like opponent went to 0, which should be good for us, and then we weren't able to quite make it convert, and then we got Staffrend and we lose. This deck doesn't beat a Shaper deck with this style of draw. It doesn't beat a Hoshiko deck. We're playing the matchup that this is weakest into. Yeah. I think I'm getting a little bit salty. So I'm going to wrap up the stream here. I'm going to repost this. If you are interested in playing some decks from the past and help me figure out and make some content for which deck it was the strongest Worlds decks of all time, please put in your name here. We're pretty close to having enough people to actually firing this off. I'll probably fill in a bunch of matches. No, Jamie, it made 0 difference. Me dying did not make a difference. I wasn't dead on board either way because the player hero had a Sandstone in hand. So the fact that he didn't install Sandstone and advance behind that doesn't matter. I was lost at that point already. The HP, I died to a flatline incidentally. I was already lost. But if this is something that sounds interesting to you, you can put your name down. We will start a league of this, and we'll play, going to be trying to prioritize playing quickly over playing the most accurately. And yeah, these are fun decks from the past. And the goal is to have fun, not to worry about optimal play in all situations. If there's a deck where you look at it and you go, this looks kind of cool, but I don't get what's going on, please don't hesitate to reach out to me. I'd rather people do this than not. So yeah, people should do this. And yeah, Hank, I chose I think this is the NWE Geist. Oh no, this is a Dumbrix Geist. You can either play a Dumbrix Geist or the other one. I'll leave that up to you. But yeah. All right. Thank you everyone for tuning in. Next week is a high likelihood of a miss because I am traveling all of next week and getting in pretty late Thursday night. So there's a decent chance I will not be streaming next Friday because I will be getting back from a week at work. But yeah, that's it for me. And yeah, Manverupt, the actual 2016 deck. So, just very quickly for that, Snakebite is the world's 2016 winning deck. In the write-up that Nemaya wrote, he says Hate Bear is the stronger deck. I also think Hate Bear was the stronger deck. And so, if you look at Papa Smurf, it says this was definitely not the best runner deck present at Worlds 2016. In my opinion, Hate Bear, the Siphon Wizard list put together by the West Coast team, is a good 10% or so better than this deck. And so by that metric, I said we should put Hate Bear in, and then Min Max was a different deck. So that was my thinking. I've tried to put a decent amount of thought into this, but if people have questions, please feel free to reach out. It looks like we're getting very, very close. Maybe I'll have to bug Pincel to see if he wants to dust off his 2019 run and school some fools. I do think this Rikoko Ace deck is actually quite strong. But yeah, if this is playing some retro Netrunner sounds fun, please don't hesitate to give it a shot, and I'll get this league started early next week. So, all right, have a good night, everyone, and see you probably in 2 weeks.